Well, it's late. I'm not sure exactly what time it is, but we're burning some midnight oil to get this thing back together. And as you can see, it's starting to look like a car again, more or less. We still got a few finite things to do. We got to level out a few things and make sure the body lines are correct, but I'm happy with the progress so far. Let's get into it and let me show you my weekly updates. As you can tell, the front clip is back on with the exception of the hood and the bumper and a few small things, but essentially everything is where it's going to be, mocked up. The back firewall is complete. I went with like this matte. It's essentially like a Raptor liner. Figured it'd be more subtle, a little bit changed. You got some gloss right here, semi-gloss here. I figured give it a little depth and try to hide it just because it's kind of ugly. I didn't spend a whole lot of time smoothing it or anything like that. Guess I could have gone a little bit more depth, but at some point I'm going to put AC and heat in it, and I figure I'd mess with it some more then because I'll probably have to take all this stuff back off the front passenger side over here. So as you can see, gawking at me, standing out right here is the motor. Don't worry about the ugliness that it is right now. The valve cover is not being used. This water pump will be changed. Several things are changing on this motor. Most of this stuff was in here just so I could paint the block. So spark plugs are old, changing, oil filter, etc. No big deal. I went to put this in yesterday evening, sometime late. Had it almost in and then realized that the motor mounts were off. And at first I was like, man, did I swap them right to left? Then I remember Fords are able to be swapped right and left. The actual issue, now that I'm looking at it, I went out to the old motor where I just dumped it. It was no good. I went and found one motor mount that was good. So these are the motor mounts I got right here. These are the motor mounts that came off the old block. One was busted, obviously. As you can tell, there's slight difference. Not much, but there's just slight enough difference that was throwing the whole thing off. So currently, the motor and trans is being held up with jacks, blocks, come-alongs, and chains. So it's not going anywhere. It's just high enough up where I can put the motor mounts back on it, drop it down, and then all this stuff will come off. Everything new will go on, and we'll start rocking and rolling. All these Holley parts will get installed. We'll have a nice, cool video for you with that. So yeah, it's kind of strange, but if you look from the side, it's very noticeable how different these are. The holes right here obviously are flipped essentially, and there's a big gap. So these are actually for a Mustang. These are actually for a full size. I don't know what I was thinking when I ordered them. Didn't even check the old block to see what was going on. I've got to straighten out the transmission cross member. It was twisted at some point, I guess from a tree in the junkyard. Something pushed up on it or someone bent it. Shouldn't be a big deal to straighten out. But anyway, those are the motor mounts. That's the issue with the motor. That's why the motor is sitting up kind of weird. It will sit down lower, probably another 2 to 3 inches, and then the back end, the trans will come up. So, yep. So we have everything cleaned up under here, just dusty from sitting outside. The wiring will probably be routed through here and around and tucked and hidden a little bit better. Obviously the gaps are not correct, but we have a fender on, so that's nice. This side doesn't have near the paint, the other side does. It's a lot more washed. I found a lot more rust in the lower area of this door. It's kind of hard to see. So at some point I'm either going to patch this door or try to find a replacement door it's close to the same color maybe. Might be hard because it's got to be a sedan or a wagon with a front door. Disc brakes. While I'm down here, the disc brakes are on. Everything is done except for this tie rod end sitting here, and then the master cylinder, which will have to get bolted up right down there. And then proportioning valve and all that stuff will get bolted up down here. I was gonna do it before I put all this together, but it would give me more room, yes, but I wanted to see where everything was routed before I did all the lines and everything, so I didn't want to basically cause issues later down the road. So this fender is obviously not fully bolted on, as you can tell. There's a few bolts missing, but it is essentially sitting sort of where it is. It's going to come up a little bit. That body line is off. and then it is off just a hair this way, but I'm happy with it. I'm gonna order this new seal. For now, the old one's going back in just so I know where it's at and the shape of it, so we don't order parts that are wrong, such as the motor mounts. Anyways, moving on. New battery tray will be here at some point. For now, this one will do. It's a little rusted in the corner, but other than that, this entire underhood is all pretty much rust free. The old wiring's there. I'll eventually de-pin what I don't need and clean up that wiring. Obviously, cowl and fender. This is the fender that I got. Also, this front clip, for those that haven't seen the older video, this front clip came off an LTD. Same year, obviously, same color. And the color, I actually cleaned these two fenders just so you could see the difference. Color is almost spot on. It's a little bit lighter from sun fading, but it is almost spot on. The only difference is this one had 390 badges here, and it had the front trim in the center, whereas this door did not. No big deal. We will clean those. We will probably weld those little holes up and try to mimic the paint. The other side is worse, obviously, as I showed you before. It rubbed the paint entirely off, so I'll probably weld those up and also try to mimic the paint, just because I can't stand that. I'm not going to put trim all the way down it. I think it's cleaner without it on this particular car. I like trim, just not. The grills we cleaned up and did a pretty decent, I'd say, driver quality job on repainting the black and the red where it's supposed to go. If I could do it again, I would have taken my time and probably done it a little bit differently. These are just kind of tacked in here right now, held up by a few screws, but overall pretty happy with the quality on them. Way better than it looked. These were actually the ones that I had, and they were in worse shape, so I stuck with these because they're less bent, less issues. It's a lot cleaner. Anyways, front clip is on. Here is a whole view of the whole wagon. I guess some of y'all haven't seen this since before I tore into it. And when I did tear into it, the other fenders and hood were damaged. So obviously this is not tacked in fully. This needs to come up a little bit here, and then this needs to get tucked in a little bit more here, down here. So it's not fully bolted in. Obviously disc brakes on over here as well. We will move on to the back end. I started to clean and patch up this roof. I've got it tacked. I've still got to finish a few tacks and grinding, and then get the little bit of oil can I had out. I took my time trying to not build heat in it, and unfortunately did oil can a little bit. No big deal, we can fix it. Just one more thing to take a little bit more time doing it. But overall, happy with the patch. I wasn't hoping not to go this big with the patch, but unfortunately the metal around there was pretty soft, so I overcompensated a little bit, went a little bit wider out. So these rails will cover up obviously where these strips are, where you can see the lack of rust because it was sealed. So those will go back in, and that's pretty much that. I'll get that done, and then there's no real updates back here. I kind of put everything on hold when I was able to get the motor in the other night, so put everything on hold. As you know, last week I had a lot of issues non-car related to deal with outside of this, so I didn't get much done. We cleaned up this strip back here. Fuel tank is still sitting back here. I need to finish welding in the cage and a few support bars. Got another seal in like I talked about, so now I can run the piping through the metal right here. It'll seal it off. It'll run it to the other side. Another pipe will go up. Another pipe will go up, and then it will run over here to the factory fuel filler next. So everything will look nice and clean as usual. And before, like I said, this will all be covered. You will not see this, and it's also lockable. So if I don't have a locking door, at least the fuel system and everything can still be killed. And I may put a kill switch or something. I'm not sure. As far as back here goes, no real changes besides we got a little bit more of this matting put in everywhere except for where I'm working on the patch. That one's still open. Up front, all that is done, so we're moving right along. And then this panel is just sitting here. Obviously, still got to fix the floor down there in the corner where the spare tire goes is rotten. No big deal. We're still going to fix that. The plan is to fix that when I'm fixing all this around the fuel cell. So the other thing is I came up with an idea. So this has a trailer hitch. I really want to keep it in case I want to haul something or just tow something behind it just as a gimmick, even if it's like a small little teardrop camper or something. It's strapped to the bumper, and it was also just bolted into the floor, it looks like. So this fuel tank cross member, I'm going to run one more brace across, and then I'm going to probably make an L bracket to come up to that brace with the tow hitch, just to give it something else to stabilize it a little bit more, because I don't really trust the two bumpers held to the bumper, two bolts held to the bumper, excuse me. So we're going to try to over design that a little bit better and try to make that a little bit sturdier. And then we'll finish tacking all that into the frame rails. And then obviously the headliner bows will probably come out. I'm not going to have time to do a headliner before I go, so those will probably come out just so they're not smacking me in the head. As you can see, the hooker headers are just waiting for the engine to be dropped in where it's supposed to go. I had the reducers that had the O2 bungs down in there so the sniper can do its thing with the O2 sensor. And then up here we have some sniper goodies. Radiator still needs installed, and a cooling fan, and several other things. Miscellaneous parts. It's just going to keep going, but been trying to give y'all at least a weekly update. Last week was rough, but this week's a lot better, so she is coming right along, and I'm proud of the progress. I've made most of this progress in the last 2 nights, working a little bit after hours, so we're getting there. Hot Rod Power Tour 24. Let me know if you're going in the comments. I'll follow along your build as well. That is the rear door, hatch door, whatever you want to call it. That is actually the panel that covers it. So I got to fix some of that rust so it's nice and clean. And then this is the rear glass. I've got to clean these channels, and as you can see, these rollers are shot. So we're going to get this repaired so the window is able to go up and down. Probably going to have to get a new one down here or make one. That one is just absolutely rotten out. So I'm not sure that they repop this piece, and finding another one's almost going to be impossible. So we're just going to have to figure it out and make do. We have some other parts, MSD wires, some wiring, gaskets, some other goodies from Holly. New timing set, as I said, the water pump and everything's going to change, so that's going to be good. So lots of new parts, hoses, header bolts, and then we still have a little bit more of the insulation that I've been rocking to go in. So I may have to order some more of that. I'm debating on going with that in the floor. If I go carpet, if I don't go carpet, then I'll probably go Raptor liner. I'm not real sure. I haven't entirely decided. If y'all have luck with either one in the floor, let me know. I guess I'd need to decide if I'm running carpet or not, but anyways. I got the perfect chairs from an estate sale. A friend of mine does estate sales, and I always tune into her stuff, but I got these a while back. I didn't have the Wagon at the time when I bought them, but I knew I was going to get them for something. If nothing else, just shop chairs, but those are awesome. Those will go perfectly in the Wagon. That'll be awesome. And then another thing that I also forgot is I cleaned the window up. That's probably the original windshield, best I can tell by the delaminating and everything else. It's cleaned up. I don't know if I'm going to run it or probably replace it. I know it's going to shatter real bad if I catch a rock or something, but it cleaned up a lot better than I thought. Some steel wool, some 000 steel wool, and a little glass cleaner and a little razor blade on a few rough edges. Goes a long way. And if I sit in there, you will not be able to see the instrument cluster, but I figured some of you might want a nostalgia. So I cleaned up the speedo and the gauge and the speedo gauge and the radio. Obviously they're both in the same area. That is a 120 speedo. At some point I'm sure I'll max that out, but not till we get a few kinks out. But that's cleaned up. You can actually see out the windshield. It's pretty clear. Like I said, there's some delaminating around the edges. I'll have to get a rear view if I run this one. Probably gonna change it out. It just depends on if I can find one and if I can find somebody to do glass, because I am not a big fan of changing glass out. But yeah, let me get a view from the driver's seat. There you go. But anyway, really touched on some of the other cars that I have that I'm either working on or just stored in here. This was actually my late uncle's car. He passed and left it to me. It is a 2010 Corvette Grand Sport LS3 6-speed manual. I've done some things to it. It's got long tube headers. Needs to be tuned. As you can see, it's filthy from doing body work in here and just having the doors up and pollen and everything else. Actually, both cars are. So this one's a blast to drive, plenty of horsepower. I mean, it's way more than I need, really. But super fun to drive, hop in and go. I've been taking it to a lot of cruise-ins lately when I don't have work stuff or something else to drive, or the country sedan is not ready, obviously. So this one is a good friend of mine's car. This was actually built by another person. There's some issues he's having with basically just daily run out when he wants to drive it. It's just kind of all over the road. Obviously it's pretty much laying frame, so it doesn't ride like this, or it's not supposed to. Somebody has actually moved it too many times with it being low. It's on airbags, so this is the lowest setting, obviously, when it's parked. It is fully custom. I am not going to get into who built it and the issues behind some of the stuff they did. Obviously, it's a very custom one-off. It's a 72 Chevelle with a older Impala dash in it. Everything is very clean, tucked. Just very, very, very simple. The seat is not in it because I had to fix the seat as well. Again, it is filthy. Needs a bath, which it'll get one soon. It is a fuel-injected big block Chevrolet. As you can see, everything is nice and tucked and neat. A lot of thought put into it. They did great work, don't get me wrong. Just some of the suspension stuff. Maybe it's not something I would do, or just maybe it wasn't made to really be on its, maybe it wasn't made to be daily driven. I guess it was supposed to be more of a show vehicle and just quick trips. But we're gonna get it right so he can drive it again. I know he's itching to get this car back. I haven't had any time to work on it. Pretty much just working on this when I have time, which is very slim right now. Waiting on a few things to come back, an interior panel from my interior guy. I just got the seat back and just need to switch it over to this lift over here to put it back on. Obviously, it's too low right now, so it'll be easier to put it up on the lift. Put the seat back in, and then I need to check the fuel pump. I think I've got an intermittent cutout on the fuel pump, either the power going to it or the pump itself. Back here, that's the air cleaner, but as you can see, the trunk is all clean and tucked. So batteries over here, the tanks for the air bag systems over here, and then fuel fills actually right here. And then behind that is some tools and just general storage area. Everything is very clean and tucked. No knobs, handles, or anything. So super clean. The exhaust is pretty cool. I just wish they would have Cerakoted it, or maybe put a heat shield around it, because after it runs for a minute, it gets that back end just filthy. Again, super cool build. Not dogging the work they did. It's awesome. That would have taken me a long time to do some of the stuff they did. It was built in 2007. Back then, this was, it doesn't look like it now, but back then, a lot of the stuff was very trick and custom and one-off at the time. Now, today, not so much. Just we've came a long way with some of the stuff people are doing, but it is super good work. I mean, it's straight as an arrow. Paint job's flawless. Obviously, it needs cleaning. You can see it's been sitting, like I keep reiterating, but beautiful car. Just would need some fine tuning. And there's all the airbag switches. I forgot that earlier, but Windows, airbags, all that's hidden. There's a little panel over there. Shifter, cup holders, and then stereo and all that. So yeah, very custom. I'll at some point when I have it on my rack, I'll show you all some of the stuff underneath it. What was cool, what was not. And yeah, so that's the vehicles that are also in the shop. I know a couple of you asked about that. I've touched on them, but never actually gone into detail. So, and then this was actually my uncle's tag in California. Obviously, it's mine. I'm telling on myself. That's fine. Alabama knows I have it, but this was my uncle's tag in California. So I was able to talk to DMV into letting me get it here. So these are his California plates. That one was sitting up with some chemicals. And then this one was never put on the car. So he retired back here. Basically, California didn't like that because they thought these were vanity plates. He kept getting pulled over. They weren't a fan of it. They basically told him, like, hey, you know, you can't renew that tag. He said, that's good because I'm moving out of California anyway. So he came here, put regular plates on it once I got a hold of it. This was the first plate I put on it, and then they got rid of this plate and went to the plate that's current on it. So I haven't done a whole lot to this car besides different wheels, tires, headers, intake, and it needs to be tuned. So anyways, these are all the cars in the shop. For y'all, time to get a little sleep before work in the morning, and we're gonna keep getting some stuff done. Hopefully some more parts arrive. I ordered some new stuff, so we should have some stuff coming in soon. So that right there is it. Get to work. We all have the same time of the day. Catch y'all in the next round of updates. More stuff coming soon.